Sorry, y'all. This sinus stuff is coming down on me, so you can. That's why I'm standing up here, so I got a microphone. At least you can hear me. You don't have to worry about me running over today, so the teachers will like it today for you. So, Chris told me to tell y'all after service tonight, if you want to stay over to, they're going. I guess the elders and them are going to be over here about the brick color. So tonight, if you want to be there, there you are. Be there, but, huh? Oh, out here, okay. Oh, out here, okay. So it's after worship tonight, so lesson 17 today is going to be James 1:12 through 18. It's about the proper attitude toward trials that arise from within. So I'm not much of a ongoing talker, so, I will ask questions. If y'all want to interject as well, too, that you can, you got to put your hand up, you can just stop me, too, so, all right? So I want to read those first two verses there. They're going to kind of overlap for me, what I want to say. It said, "Blessed is the man who endures temptation, for when he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he himself tempt anyone." It says, up to this point, James has discussed temptation from a viewpoint of trials that arise from outward circumstances, such as persecutional distresses in life that are common to all human beings. I ain't gonna talk, but yeah, that's true for a lot of us. I guess an example could be work too, where you have trials and tribulations with. When you're here at worship, though, you are, I guess, surrounded by people who have the same kind of likeness as you as well. But when you get out into the workforce and the different backgrounds, I'll say, when it comes to that, there was a guy I knew that he's a Christian still and everything like that, but he took a job at a company. His job was to take the clientele out when they come to town, duck hunting or anything like that that they wanted to. But like I said, anything they wanted to, they had to take them out to the bars, bring in alcohol and everything like that. We had talked about it, and he said, it weighs on him that he's not showing the example he needs to be showing for others and everything like that. So he did quit the job, and he did start working for a environmental, I think, facility where he had a desk job where he didn't have to worry about, interacting with people. So, but does anybody got anything? I mean, I know there's a lot of other things when it comes to trials and temptations, I'll say.
The big point of your story was that the man quit his job so that he could get right with God. I know people that have quit their jobs because they missed too many worship services. So that's how important it is to fight sin any way you can. Flee. Quitting a job would be like fleeing from sin.
Yeah.
Seeds of sin anyways.
I mean, there's temptations all around you all the day, every day. People try to say social media is the problem when it's really the person who's the problem.
Going along with that, I think a lot of times, like verse 13, when we're tempted, I think we put ourselves in a lot of situations. We shouldn't be in certain situations, couldn't be in a certain place. Then they'll say, "Oh, I was tempted and God put it before me, but you shouldn't have been there again." Or you know what I mean? It seems like a lot of things, stress that we put on ourselves is self-inflicted. We take on too much, whether it be too much payments, too much bills. We have to worry
Well, that's a good point. It's not keeping up with the Joneses or anything like that. It's just like you said, people want and want and want. They will put themselves in that situation to where they're tempted to keep on wanting more instead of being pleased with what they have. And then you'll get that, I guess, that break where you think that, well, God did this to me, when really it wasn't God's situation. God never puts anything on a man or a woman that they can't handle. I talked to another Christian one time. They were pretty in the faith. And I'm not sweating from being up here. I guess it's the light or something. I don't know. I think it's just the sinuses and stuff. But I'm not trying to discourage people when they go with higher education or anything like that. But this person, the higher they got in their studies, they got their doctors and everything like that, they started questioning God's, started questioning God's place and everything like that, And I'm the kind of person, I like to talk to people like that. It intrigues me, I'm not saying homosexuality is right. I'm just saying when I talk to them, because they try to say that, I was born this way, that kind of thing. But this Christian, the higher he got in his education, though, he started questioning God's purpose and everything like that, And it was sad to see that this man grew up in the church, and like he was the straight and narrow and everything like that, and just that he just started getting full of himself, if you really think about it. He started relying on his own intuitions and everything like that instead of staying with the Lord. Let's turn to Matthew 26:41. It says, "Watch and pray, lest you enter in temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." I want to add to that Galatians 5:16 through 26. I had it marked in my book here. Then when you get up here, it's some of, let's see, there it goes. So it's Galatians 5. I want to start with 16 and read down to 26, though. It said, "I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things that you wish. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are evident, which are adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contentions, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, heresies, envy, murders, drunkenness, revelries, and the like, of which I tell you beforehand, just as I also told you in the time past, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no law. And those who are Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking one another, envying one another." So right there, we see the works of the flesh. I know we all seen Christians. That will be. Well, it's like I say right here in this first part about a new babe in Christ, how they can be easily turned back to the world. We all seen people We always seen people turn from the Lord, so.
Brother B,
Yes, sir.
one of the things that I think we get out, especially the last person you just read, you know, and it goes along with verse 13, I think. God is spirit. Okay?
Yeah.
If we want to be more like God, we have to seek that more spirit. We are flesh. We're always gonna have that. And the thing about temptation can be, and then a lot of times are different for different people, right? Everybody's not tempted by the same thing. That's what gives Satan the hold. And I think the author of the lesson talked about this a little bit. He's gonna use the best bait that he possibly can to tempt us. And, you know, the endurance that James talks about here in being able to overcome that temptation, which is our fleshly selves. As long as we live in this world, we're gonna face temptation.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
in verse 13, where it talks, you can't be tempted by God. Well, guess what? That's because God's not flesh. We are. That's why we're tempted. As much as we are. And we give in to it. James goes on in the next few verses and explains some of that. You know, when we're talking about temptation and endurance, being able to overcome it, you know, there, as it works in the church, there are some that are stronger in the faith than others. They are more grounded in that, trying to be more godlike. We ought to turn to them in those times of weakness and I mean, that's why we're here together. We are the family of God. We ought to use that to our advantage. I mean, you know, when we talk about putting on the armor of faith, it's not just one person in this whole group that's doing that. It's
Yes.
all of us trying to do that. We're the armor.
Let me just get it straight. I do care for our soul, everything like that. It's just my children, okay? So that's the part that got me, okay? So I do, everything like that, so. But Chris, you are right about that. It comes from within on a person, no matter what, so.
I think there's three things in verse 12 that we stay away from. There's a lot there, but it says enduring testing and temptation. Who patiently, that's one thing. How many of us patiently endure? And we get in trials and temptations, we get caught up in it. We don't stop and think, we just get caught up in it. You know? But this is God blesses those. How many of us think that we're being blessed by God when we endure the temptations, when we rightfully get through it without falling to it? You know, that's something we ought to think to, pray for, look to, God's blessing. Because it says afterward they will receive the crown of life. That's something else to look forward to. It's not an immediate get. It's not something we get right now. It's something we need to pray for, we need to study for, we need to look to. And why should we look to it? Because God promises. If you do this, this will happen. In a world where we're told a lot of times, if you do this, this will happen. Things don't follow through. We need to trust with God when we're told He promises us, if you do this, here is the outcome. So that gives us that hope of enduring. It helps gives us the possibility of enduring, of patiently enduring. And it goes back to what we studied the other night about watching our tongue while we endure, keeping our mouth pure while we endure. That's a lot of it. There's a few little things there just in verse 12. It's a lot.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when you think of temptation, you can think of a person who speeds and everything like that too, you know. I mean, I'll admit to it too. The passing lane seems like it's the driving lane for people these days, you know. And I know I shouldn't do it though, but you know, I guess you ever seen that Kermit the Frog meme where you go by the person, you know, and you just give them the face. He's like, really? And you're while you're in the passing lane, but it's the temptation of wanting to speed and everything like that, you know. I've slowed down a lot now since my son's like, go faster, daddy, go faster. I was like, so, and he's coming of age now, about to be driving. I mean, just like a person who works a lot too, though, who wants to,
So that's not a temptation for me.
huh?
That's not a temptation for me.
Well, you get 3 months out of the year too, so.
But there's other things for me that,
Well, yeah, like biking. I mean, me for running too, though. I mean, yeah, it's not a high, I
that's
guess.
why, you said earlier, Satan's gonna use the tool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like the way that, it was mentioned in the sermon this morning about, here's the answers to the test. And, we mentioned test in that, verse 12, but I always think about 1 Peter, I think it's the first chapter, yeah. 1 Peter 1, 6 and 7. Rejoice, though now for a little while. So speak about temporary, it ain't gonna last. You can overcome it.
Mhm.
As you quoted that scripture earlier, or, referred to 1 Corinthians 10:13, God is there, you won't be tested beyond what you can handle. And of course, implying with God. But, at the end of verse 6 in 1 Peter 1, if necessary, you have been grieved by various trials. 7, so that the genuineness of your faith, and that's what it's all about. It helps you stay in touch with your faith level, like the gauge of the car, You go through these tests.
I mean, yeah.
First thing I think was, why me, Lord?
Yeah.
I needed that truck, or whatever,
Mhm. I mean, Chris did make a good point this morning. How the reason why he comes to worship 3 times a week, because you want those answers, to stay within those answers, and plus, you still got to worry about temptation, but I guess it won't. How do you say it? You'll be able to, I guess, put up not a wall, but you'll be able to see it coming, I guess you say, because you got those answers that you need, so you won't fall into temptation. I mean, the only it's like I told in the Bible class over here, the high school class, there was only one person that never sinned in this world, that was Christ. So.
What would it be like if you didn't have any of these tests?
That's true.
You yourself, I mean, you can be stronger, unless
Right.
you're one of those that say, it'll pass. Just let it go, and not try to do something about it, pray about it, etc. Read the Bible.
So, you ever hear those people who say, what else is coming? This already hit me. What else is next? Going to hit me next? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
The Lord must be trying me, huh?
Breeze.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
I think we do.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, it's okay, I mean, these trials and temptations are not necessarily the ones that we put ourselves in, like, Lance was talking about, Chris's and, teacher man's point up there. Sorry. Proverbs talks about too much honey is a bad thing. I mean, anything can become a temptation, and it's not quite what this is talking about. This is, we know there's truly sinful vice type things, if you will, but we can make anything, bikes, guns, TV, sports, we can let anything become a temptation that we put ourselves into, kind of like what Lance was talking about. So we have to be careful of those things.
There's a guy I work with. It's funny. He's Ukrainian. He likes collecting knives. It just blows my mind how much money he spends on these knives that he brings to work. I'm like, you spent that on a knife? He said, what did you like? I was like, well, yeah, whatever, dude. But I said, to each his own, I guess I say too. So, verse 14. It says, but each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desire and enticed. Then when desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. Do not be deceived by beloved brethren. So let's back up. So verse 14 and 15 says, but each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. then when the desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it's full grown, brings forth death. That's a pretty heavy statement for I guess for today, really, if you think about it. Well, not when you think about it, but it is a heavy statement that when you have people who lead others away and everything like that, or even us as Christians, we think that we're not doing something out of, I guess, God's context. I mean, you got some people, I guess, I'm not calling them dumb or anything like that. They just don't think about the situation they put themselves in before they get out there, and then it gets real murky. And other people will see them doing it. Well, do you know what you were doing? Well, I didn't know I was, and some people are just oblivious when it comes to things, but they need to, as long as I guess they get corrected from it, I hope that they don't go back and do it again too, that kind of thing.
Verse 15 tells us that we recognize it first before it becomes sin.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? So you see the temptation, then you make that choice. So at the beginning, the temptation is there, but you haven't chosen to go into it. It says it conceives and gives birth to sin. There's that point there where you've got to make that choice. You say, I see the temptation, I turn away from it. So I can't say, it's something that's got to be on your mind. For most things you do that you sin about, it's not just something that just instantaneously, whoops, didn't think about that. It's something that's been on your mind before.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a situation. Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess if you're a true Christian, I guess, yeah. A person of the world, I mean, even though I guess they have good morals, quotation marks, sometimes will still, not thinking, maybe put themselves in those kind of situations too.
You think about, example, I've been thinking the whole time about, when Lot, what he was looking at was the well-watered valley. What was wrong with that? I mean, there wasn't anything wrong with that at all. But as time went on, things became worse and worse for him, and he moved as far as Sodom. And a lot of times we have to look, and it's hard to do. I'm not saying it's easy, but you have to look at every decision that you make to try to decide, even though it's innocent to start with, is that going to promote my faith, or is it going to be a detriment to me? And that's something that's really hard to see a lot of times, and just by minor decisions that we make, it seems like, but they can lead to other things. Now the thing about it is, you can realize from one mistake, and you think, I don't need to go this direction again. You need to really wake up when you see yourself moving in a direction that's going to cause a problem. So be aware, I guess.
It starts as a pinhole, don't it?
Yeah. Very small.
And once that, you keep going back to it, like you say, then it turns into,
Think about Lot, though, he talks about those well-watered valleys.
Right.
That ain't where Lot ended up with. He wasn't in the valley.
Yeah.
He was in the city with all the terrible sin. So he made a choice to go, okay, this is where I'm gonna live at, but not only am I gonna live here, I'm gonna be right in the middle.
well, he thought the grass was greener that way, right?
He could go and stay out there in the grass. Didn't worry about him.
Well, that's true too, though, but yeah.
Hey, B,
Yes.
I heard a sermon one time, actually it was on the radio, and I can't even recall the guy's name, but he preached on these verses. And one of the points that he had made, well, there's actually 2 points that stuck with me. First is that, especially in this time, but I would almost argue even to today, people revere God when sin is full grown, there's only thing left is death. And man, that has stuck with me. I bet it's been 6, 7 years since I heard that. But that's what James is telling us here. God's got our best interest at heart. It's our decision to either seek Him or to seek whatever it is that appeals to our eye. And that's the world that we live in. We have to make a choice and decide to serve God. And that's what James is really trying to get them to understand as he goes on there in verse 16. He says, "Do not be deceived, my beloved brethren." Don't be deceived, because it's going to look right, but it's not.
Correct.
Just kind of add on to what Chris just said. I think in these verses, it's worth thinking about. He's talking about life and death here. Life, what is death here? Sin leads to death. It's separation from God. The opposite of that is life. We're blessed if we endure temptation. We risk death if we give in to it. Even that crown of life, I think that's the crown we'll have one day, but it's not life we'll have one day. It's the crown that comes from life. It's the crown that comes from life with God while we're here,
Right.
while we're trying to overcome temptation, trying to endure.
It's a good point. I mean, yeah, we're all striving to have that crown at the end. I mean, we have the apostles, there's trials and tribulations from, people persecuting them and everything like that, too,
How does man reduce sin? By turning off our own desires.
mhm.
How do we turn off our own desires? By looking to God's desires. That's the only way. It's pretty simple.
There's the,
Not easy, but simple.
yeah, as long as you have, I guess, a good, foundation, It's like the example of Joshua, he had the temptation. He turned away from it. I mean, it can happen to us today. Joshua turned away from it, but yet he still got falsely accused and, ridiculed by it. But at the end, like you said, the crown there, I mean, I'm not trying to, but I'm just giving an example of how, he came out on top. So that kind of thing too, though. Okay. Is it getting close? Okay, yeah, there we go. We got 3 minutes, huh? It says, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and comes down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow of turning. Of his own will he brought us forth by the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. So what do you think that means by the first fruits of his creatures?
Very best. The very best of his creation. I mean, I think even the writer in the lesson referred back to, the first fruits being used for sacrifice. It was the best of those. And when it says the kind of first fruits of his creatures, of his creation, that's what it's talking about, God's creation. When we do what God wants us to do, and we live the way that he wants us to live, and that we succumb to his will and not our own by these desires that we talk about here. When our desires change from ours to what God wants, and we do what he wants us to, we become them first fruits. We are the very best of his creation because we seek to serve him. That's what he wants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he seeks for us to serve him, but sometimes, Man.
In verse 17, where he says, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above. Everything we have and are comes from him. When we come to that realization and we let our will, be transformed into his will, we become to his own. Well, if we have that thought process, that each person can determine what's good and what's bad, then we really don't have any law. But God, when we succumb to God's will, we have a law to abide by. And it's so much better than what these people try to brainwash you into. And let you believe that you can determine what's good and bad. No, God determines what's good and bad.
You see a lot of these reality shows, not reality shows, let me take that back up. I've been watching a lot of documentaries on Netflix of how easily people are influenced if they had just, put the Bible in their hand and actually read it for themselves, and instead of listening to some man read it to them, It was, I'm not trying to be funny or anything like that, but my mother and I, it was a while ago, we went to a funeral at a little congregation out in the sticks somewhere, and that place might have had 40 people, 50 tops maybe, if that. So it was a funeral that day. Her cousin had passed away. So everybody else had these, I'm not saying secondhand cars, but I mean, they were kept together, basically. Preacher come roll up in a brand new Escalade sitting on 24s. I said, okay, dude, I'm like, really, dude? That's like, my mom's like, I know. People will listen to a person talk. But what I'm trying to get at about that is that people of the world will tell you that, well, that's not a temptation, really. It's just a little white lie or something like that, And that's when you tell them, all sins are equal no matter what, Well, that's not, you can go do this with that person like that. My congregation, we don't believe in stuff like that. I said, well, it's still a temptation. It's not a difference in that kind of temptation, And people try to differentiate things, thinking, well, this is not that bad as this, over here, So, but anyway, how many minutes I got, Lance? It's finally coming up now, so anybody got anything?
Yes, what we thought first fruits as preachers stood for. If you go back to the old law, the people were to give what? The first fruits, the very best of what they had. You think about this. Here you are in the New Testament where he's telling these people that would have studied the old law and known what that meant. Now he's telling us that we are becoming his first fruits. We're becoming the very best of what's his. That's a pretty major statement.
It's like Chris said, as long as we stay within, listening, turn ourselves into, God's people, you will be the first fruit. I mean, the example of what Cain and Abel, right? He gave his best where his brother didn't really, So.
Goes right in line with the parable of the sower, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Christ talks about the parable of the sower, those are seeds out there. He talks about what those seeds are and what happened to them, right?
Yes.
So we're the seeds. We become the fruit.
It's just like the seed that falls on the rock, right? Then the seed that falls in the thorns, and the seeds that fall on the good ground, I mean, you can still have a person that falls on the good ground, but they still got to nurture themselves and everything like that to make sure they stay within God's boundaries of temptation or anything like that.
Yeah, we got the good ground right here.
Yes, that is true. And you got your fellow Christians that, hold you up and everything like that too, so. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
This kind of makes me think, when James is writing this, it's to Christians,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the message originally, and just a little time had gone by, and now they're thinking they should get the reward of heaven without any work, without any effort, without any sweat and tears. It's like saying you want to run a marathon, but you're not going to put any time running. You want the T-shirt, but you're not going to put in all that effort that it's going to take to make you cross that finish line. And yet these Christians, he's trying to get them to see that's not right. That's a wrong concept. persevere, hang in there. All that temptation's from Satan, is from Satan, he's trying to keep you from finishing your goal, hang in there.
You know, you make a good point. Today's society, I mean, but it falls on that person too, though, that I want it now. As soon as I become a Christian, well, I should be able to be a Christian without having to do this and that, you know. I'll give you an example of people at work. We had a group of about 4 people come into work. It's just started there. They've been there 6 months. They tell me we need a raise. I've been here 20 years, you know. I said, it don't work that way, you know. But you're right. A lot of people, they look for that instant gratification that, well, I'm a Christian now, so I don't have to worry about this. I don't have to worry about that. You know, the Lord's going to let me forgive me of it and everything like that. Though. But if they would read their Bible the right way, they would know that you got to stay faithful no matter what when it comes to that kind of stuff. So anything else? All right, I do appreciate it, y'all.